atha tada sa shakha shushyate. Thus, then at that time, that particular branch dries up. Jiva sthiti nimitto rasa, jiva karma kshipta. The rasa, the child that forms in the body after whatever we eat and drink, that depends totally upon the individual soul. Jiva sthiti nimitto rasa. The child which is dependent upon the existence of the individual soul in this body. Number one. And it is also depending upon jiva karma kshipta. And it has come to existence in accordance to the results of the actions of our own actions of the past births. Depending upon this, digestion takes place. If good karma is there, proper digestion will be there, body will be fit, everything will be fit. Bad karma comes up, some pava karma, the body is, the digestion becomes improper, etc. Jivopasamhare naha tishtati. And thus, once this individual soul withdraws itself from this body, then his whole body itself dies out. It does not continue to live. Na tishtati. That does not continue to live. Rasapagame cha shaka shoshopati. Just like when the sap is withdrawn, or when sap is not being properly sucked by the tree, or the individual soul that exists in the tree does not suck and digest properly the sap, then what happens? Shakha shosham upaiti. That particular branch becomes dried up. तथा सर्वं वृक्षम एव. Similarly, यदा अयम जहाति तदा सर्वोपि वृक्ष शुष्यति. Similarly, when individual soul discards the whole tree, then the whole tree dries up. Vrikshasya rasa sravana shoshanadi lingat. You know, here it says very clearly that the Bauddhas and Nayayikas, what they say, that there is no jiva, no individual soul in the trees. That's wrong. Vrikshasya rasa sravana shoshanadi lingat. Jivavatvam drishtashrutescha chetravanta sthavaraha iti. By this illustration, by this Vedic illustration, we are able to see that a tree is possessed of an individual soul, and that can be inferred by rasasravana, the exusion of the juices, shoshan, drying up, adi, because it goes on growing and growing and growing. The growth is seen. By the word, adi can take growth, etc. But due to these lingat, gyapakat, it is inferred that surely these trees also have individual souls. They possess individual souls. Chetnavanta sthavaraha. Therefore, according to the Vedic text, it is very clear that the non-moving things also are sentient. They are non-moving, sthavara, but still they are sentient. They are chetnavanta. Bauddha kanada matam achetana sthavarityetad asaramiti darshitam bhavati. So by this Vedic illustration, it is shown or it is exposed very clearly that the view of the Bauddhas and Kanada, the Nayayikas and Vaisheshikas, what do they say is achetana sthavara. Immovable, the non-moving things are totally insentient, that stands baseless, meaningless or hollow. Asaram iti darshitam. Yata asmin vrikshe drishtansa darshitam. As it has been shown in this example, in this illustration, जीवेन युक्तो वृक्षो अशुष्को रसपानादि युक्तो जीवति इत्युच्यते तदपेदस्य म्रियते इत्युच्यते. Associated with the soul, जीवेन युक्तः वृक्षो अशुष्क, the tree continues unwithered without drying up. Rasapanadikta, drinking sap water, etc. Jivati tuchate, the people say that it is living. Similarly, tadapetascha, And when bereft of that individual soul, what happens? The people say, Mriyati tuchate, this tree is dead. Similarly, now we have to put it into your, that it is implied on your body. Evamev khalu somi vidhiti hovacha jivapetam vavakila idam mriyate na jivo mriyate iti स येषणिमा ऐतदात्मिदगं सर्वं तत्सत्यं स आत्मा तत्त्वमसि श्वेतगेदो इति भूय मा भगवान विज्ञापयत्विति तथा सोमेति होवाच एवमेव खलु नो दस वेरी एज सच विच इज सौम्य ओ गुड लुकिंग वन होवाच द फादर सेड ही सेड एवमेव खलु विद्धि. You have to believe that, huh? Hey Somya. Jiva petam vava kila idam vriyate. It is sure that when the individual soul gets separated, apetam, separated from this body dies. Na jiva vriyate. Only the body is going to die, but not the individual soul. The soul does not die. Sayeshwanima aitadapim idagam sarvam. That which is this subtle essence is the self of all the things that exist in this world. Idam sarvam. That self is the essence of this whole universe. That is the truth, tat satyam. Satma, that is the self. Tattvamasi, the word that Heshvetaketu iti. Then he says, Bhagavan, oh, Venerable Sir, Bhuyama Vijnapayato. Again, please explain me. Further, I have got certain doubts. I'll mention them. Please clear those doubts. But here you see, the Guru is so great. He knows what is in the mind of the student. The student is not telling his doubts. And the great old Shankaracharya is going to tell us what is there in the mind of the student, and depending upon the answer. Mayi tatha somiti vacha. The father said, oh, let it be so. Evameva khalo soumya. Oh, good looking one. Evameva khalo. Vidhi. No. Thus, verily, as such. He said, Hovacha. What? Jiva petam. Jiva vyuktam vavakila. Idam sharam mriyate. Na jivo mriyate. When separated, jiva petam. When this individual soul gets separated, that means jiva vyuktam, when it gets detached itself from this body, vava, surely, killer, indeed, idam shariram mriyate, this body only dies, the jiva mriyate, the jiva, the individual soul, does not die, because it is eternal. So the answer is given now to his question by this example, is it not? Karisheshecha suptottasya ममइदम कार्यशम अपरिसमाप्तमिति स्मृत्वा समापन दर्शनात्. The samapana darshanat. For it is seen, darshanat means for it is seen in this world that a man who thinks karisheshecha, who thinks that many things are left over to be done. So suptotitasya, when he gets up from the sleep, after having woken up from sleep, Mama idam karyashesham aparisamaptam iti smrutva. After remembering them, what? That this residual work of mine remains unfulfilled. Thinking so, or remembering all that work which was left over before sleep as residual samapana darshanat, the person seems to complete it when he wakes up. Similarly, this individual soul has got many karma shesha. That is why again and again he comes back. He goes to existence, again comes back in the waking state. Why this rotation is going on? For that is this Bhashya's statement is here. Because we have in our mind what has to be done tomorrow before sleep. It is programmed. Even if you don't program also, it is programmed by the creator of the world, the creator of this body, Brahman. And because the prarabdha is decided. Prarabdha is nothing programming. What all has to happen tomorrow is programmed before only already. in general. So, to fulfill that, to complete those actions, you have to wake up. There's another goal. Even if you don't want to wake up, also you will force to be woken up. That's why it says Smritva Samapan Darshnat. The other reason for inferring this is, he says, Jatamatranancha Jantuna Sthanya Vilasha Bhayadi Darshanach Atiti Janmantran Bhuta Sthana Pana Dukkan Bhav Smritir Gamyate. Jatamatran, from the fact that a creature, as soon as it takes birth, what does it do? He says, Sthanya Abhilasha Bhayadi Darshanat. We see they hanker for breastfeeding and they have fear, etc. It is understood, Gamyate, it is understood by this that these creatures possess what? The sanskara, the impressions, atit janmantran bhut, of the past births. They have had experience of breastfeeding and sufferings too. Stanapana, dukkhanubhava, smriti. And those experiences which were indebted in himself as vasanas come into memory at the time of birth. By this also it is very clear that this birth cycle that is going on due to our own vasanas. It is not due to the existence absolute. Agnihotraadinancha Vedikanam karmanam arthavatvat najivo mriyate. And the third reason is Agnihotraadinam. Moreover, since the Vedic rites, Agnihotra etc., have also arthavatva, some purpose to serve, and for to give that particular fruit to the someone who has to be existing, is not after the death of the body, who is going to enjoy the fruits of the Agnihotra and etc. karmas that he had done while he was living in this body. For that purpose also, you will have to accept an individual soul separate from the body. Even the body dies, but that individual will not die, who is going to enjoy the fruits of Agnihotra karma etc. Na jivamrita iti. Karmanam arthavatvaya, arthavatvat, na jivamrita iti. So these are three reasons he has given. Na jivo mriyate. One, as we said daily, after sleep we are waking up. That is one reason. Second reason, the breastfeeding and sorrow that we are experiencing at the time of the birth itself. And the third is to see that the karma which we are doing, etc., should be fruitful. To see that they are fruitful, a person who is going to enjoy these fruits should be accepted other than the body. For that reason also you have to accept that the jiva, the individual soul, is separate from the body which does not die. There are three reasons by which you can infer or imply that the individual soul is totally different from the body. Sayeshwanima ityadi gamanam ityadi samanam. Sayeshwanima ityadi samanam. The rest of the mantra should be explained as before. The reason is, the answer you got to understand now. What was the question? Without destroying the effect cannot attain the causal form. This is what he had put the question. Therefore, if this individual soul is also an effect of that existence and is going to attain the existence, means it is attaining the causal form, that means this individual should be destroyed. Its name and form also should get destroyed to become only cause, to attain the only causal form. So how it can come back again and again? Daily. There is no question of coming from existence. For that he says, it is not like that. Because the jiva is not a perishable thing. This effect what we are speaking of, we are speaking of the effect, individual soul also as an effect. The Purpaksha is here. In the question, what is accepting as? The Brahman, the absolute existence, is the cause, and individual soul is the effect. Therefore, once this goes in the Sushupti, during the deep sleep state, attains the causal form, that means it has to get destroyed. This was the question. Accepting just like a pot and mud. He is accepting individual soul and the Brahman also, cause and effect theory is applying. For that you have to answer no, it's not like that. Pot is a perishable effect, but individual soul is an illusory, even though it's an illusory, but still it's an eternal effect. Eternal in the view of its consciousness and illusory in the view of its adjunct. The adjunct is illusory, is it not? Avidya, Maya, the Upadhi is illusory, due to which we are speaking of Jivatma. So when we think, in the view of the consciousness, pure consciousness, the Jiva is eternal. And the view of the adjunct, it is perishable. Because the adjunct is perishable. Ajnana is going to get destroyed. Once Ajnana gets destroyed, you can say Jiva destroyed. But actually, if we speak of the Jiva as a Pratibimba of Chaitanya, then that's not going to get destroyed. Only the Upadhi gets destroyed, but the Chaitanya goes back into, the Pratibimba will become identified with the Bimba itself. Therefore, in that view, the Jiva is eternal. That is the main view actually. The Jiva is Jiva Brahmaiva Napara. That's what it is said. Therefore, Jiva Brahmaiva is, we don't want to accept an illusory Jiva at all. Only the Upadhi, the adjunct is illusory. And that gets perished. When that gets perished, what happens is, this Jiva, which was accepted to be like an effect, attains its own original form, which is eternal. There is a Jiva apetam kila mriyate, na jivo mriyate. Jiva na mriyate means it is not going to get perished, it is eternal. Therefore, the question was effect, in the view of cause and effect, the question was put up, and that has been now rejected by the answer. There is no such cause and effect between Jiva and Brahman. Brahman is eternal, Jiva is also eternal, it is not going to die. Therefore, the effect without the destruction of this individual soul's consciousness, it is going to get identified with the Brahman, the absolute existence. Just like I had given an example yesterday, a pot full of water, a pot which is full of water, you just dip it into the Ganga. What happens? It becomes Ganga. But it is along with the pot. Even though at the time, until it is within this river, both the waters are one. And when you remove again, the pot will be full of water as it was before. Same way, we are getting into our deep sleep state. Therefore, even though because of the pot, the water becomes limited, because the adjunct, the consciousness becomes limited, which you call as individual soul. That's going from one state to another state. Even though it is so, but still, this individual soul is not perishable. This is what he wants to show here. Ye shonima ityadi saman. Now the next question comes up. Okay, acceptable. But katam punaridam atyant sthulam. Because you are told from where you had begun, sadeva samidam agrasi. And he said, tadmulam manvicha. Find what is the cause of it. Find what is all the cause of it. Sanmulaha, prajaha. This is what he had told. All are sanmula only. Therefore you are Sat. And that is Satyam, that is Atma, that is you. This is what had started from the beginning. Therefore now the question arises, okay, the individual soul is eternal. It is Brahman itself. By the example it's understood. But how is it possible that such a subtle essence, existence, absolute consciousness, absolute bliss, from that, this gross world came into existence and became an adjunct of that Brahman itself. Peculiarities, this gross has come from that subtle existence. That is what you said. According to statement, the father's statement, the son is saying, the student, according to you, this whole world comes into existence from that. And the foolishness, you can say, what has happened is, this product is limiting the cause itself. The Brahman is the cause of the world, the product. And this has become the limitation for the Brahman itself. And it makes into many, many individual souls. We are experiencing that. All are experiencing that. That's why everyone wants moksha. Then what for? That's why Shvetiketu says everybody is experiencing this limitation because of this body and dog, and how this body came from that subtle one. Therefore, the question arises: is it possible that a subtle thing can give birth to a gross thing? Just the question is only this much: is it possible that a subtle thing can give birth to a gross? First, understand this. Then we'll think about whether a grass which has come distant from the subtle can become an adjunct to that subtle itself and limit it. That's the next question comes up. First, you have to understand whether there is a possibility or not of a subtle becoming a grass. For that, we'll take another example now. There's a question now here. Punaridam atyant sthulam. What? Prithiviyadi. Namarupa jagat. The whole world with name and forms. Atyant sukshmat. Sadrupat. Namarupa rahitat. Sato jayate. Ityeta drishtantena bhuyo eva ma bhagavan vidyapaviti. Earth, etc., bearing names and forms, which is set by the world or the universe, according to your own statement, are born from what? Atyanta sukshmat. Very, very, very subtle. Sadrupat. Its nature is reality, not illusion. Nama rupa rahitat, which is devoid of name and forms. Sato, from that abstract existence, you have said that this gross world comes into existence, takes birth. That I am not able to understand. Therefore, drishtantina bhuyeva ma bhagavan vijnapayato. By an example or illustration, please make me understand this more clear. Explain to me. Tathasumiti vacha prida, the father said, okay, let it be so. Negrodha phalam matahariti idam bhagavaiti bhindhiti bhinnam bhagavaiti kimatra pashyasiti anvayvema dhana bhagavaiti asamangaikam bhindhiti bhinna bhagavaiti kimatra pashyasiti na kinchana bhagavaiti. Small sentences. Negrodha phalam matahara. Go and fetch a fruit from this banyan tree. Idam bhagavaiti. Oh, venerable sir, it is this. See, they immediately went and brought and showing him. The father says, Bhindi, break it. Bhinnam bhagavaiti. Immediately breaks and shows to him. You say, I have broken it. Then he asks, what do you see in it? Kimatra pashyasi. What are you seeing in it? Anvya eva imadhana. They are atomic like, not atoms. Atoms cannot be seen at all. They are atomic like Anvya eva imadanaha. These grains I am seeing from them. Bhagava, O venerable sir. Iti asamanga ekam bhinti. Dear son, Anga, of them take one grain and now try to break it also. Bhinna bhagavaiti. O venerable sir, yes, you see I have broken it. He says, Kimadra Pashasi, what do you see in it? It was just like dust. He could not grasp anything in a gross way. Therefore he says, Nakinchana Bhagavaiti. I am not able to see anything over here whatsoever it might be. Bhashya. Yadi etat pratyakshi kartum ichhasi ato asmat mahato negrodhat phalam ekam ahara iti ukta. If you want to have a direct perception about this, then what you have to do? Ato asmat, from this mahada, big banyan tree, negrodha, phalam ekam ahra, go and bring one single fruit. Ityuktaha, being stated so by the father, tatha chakara, the son, very obediently did the same. He acted accordingly and went upon स idam bhagodahartam upahritam phalam iti darshitavantam pratyah. He said, idam bhagava, oh wonderful sir, it is this you see. Upahritam phalam, this fruit has been brought by me. Iti darshitavantam pratyaha. To him who had shown the fruit, the father said, phalam bhinditi, break the fruit. Bhinnamityaha itaraha, the other, that is the son said, I have broken it, see. Tam aha pita, to him the father said, Kimatr pashasiti, what do you see here in it? Ityukte, being told so. Aha, the son said, Anvyo, Anuttara iva. Anvyaha, the word in the Shruti, actually the word should be, according to Vyakarana, Anuttara. Atomic like, as if of atomic size. So small. Imadhanaha, Bijani Pashyami, I see these grains which are just like minute seeds. Bhagavati, Venerable Sariti. Asam dhananam ekam dhanam anga hevatsa bhindi tukta aha. Of these grains, take one single grain, oh my dear son, and break it. Being told so, he said, okay, bhinna bhagavati, it is broken, sir. Yadi bhinna dhanaha tasyam bhinnayam kim pashasi ityukte aha. If the grain has been broken by you, then now what do you see in it, in that broken grain? The son answers back, nakinjana pashasi. Being told so, the son said, sir, I do not see anything in it. That means it has become so subtle. The grass fruit became minute, it is broken, and that minute became dust, subtleness. Now you also see, from this subtle powder, such a big tree has come up. Similarly, from that subtle existence, this whole world has come up. Tam hovacha yam vai somyaitam animanam nibhalayasa edasya vai somyaisho animna evam mahanya grodastishtati shraddhatsva somyeti. Here comes the word shraddhatsva. Don't do any no kutarga anymore. Huh? How is that possible? Huh? Have faith in what I am saying and what you are experiencing. Tam putram, to him, the father, he said, Yam vai somya, oh good looking one, that which is this seen by you, Yam vai etam, animanam, this subtle, na nibhale, na should be added over here in the mantra, printing mistake. Somya etam animanam, na nibhale, na is not in our book. That you are not able to perceive at all. You could not see anything over there properly and grasp anything as if a thing. Nani bale se. Etasya vai somya, of this very subtleness. Etasya animna, of this very subtleness. Eshaha mahanya grodasthiti, of this size of an atom, which is of the size of an atom, as if like an atom, stands this big banyan tree. Shraddhatsu somya, have faith, do not doubt in what I have said and shown to you. Bhashyan. Tam means putram, to him the son. Hovacha, he the father said, Vatadhanayam bhinnayam, after the grain of the banyan seed had been broken, yam vadabija animanam, that atomic subtleness of the banyan seed that you saw, he somya, O good looking one, etam naniphalayase, that which you could not even grasp properly, perceive properly, na pashyasi, you could not see it properly too. Even though it is so subtle, tathapi, but still, edasya vaikila somyesha mahan nigrodo, of this subtleness only, this big banyan tree animna, etasya animna, you have to conjugate like this, of this subtleness, which is just like an atom, which cannot be perceived by naked eyes, of that only this big banyan tree, tishtati means has come into existence. He is explaining the words now. Animna means sukshmasya, adrishyamanasya, unperceivable, adrishyamanasya, and sukshmas means totally subtle. Of that, what has come? Yes, Mahan Nigrodha. This tree, how is a tree? Karyabhutaha. Grows a product. How is that product? Sthulaha. Totally gross. Gross in the sense, how much big? A thumb's like size? No. Shakhas, khanda, phala, palashavans. Mahan Nigrodho Tishtati. Conjugate like this. Shakha, branches. Skandha, trunk. Phala, fruits. Palashavan, leaves, etc. Possessed of these things. Tishtati, this big sized banyan tree is standing in front of you. Having been born, stands. Here, Bhashakara says, Utpanna san, having born only it is standing. Or add one word here, ut. You have to add a upasarga, prefix, ut, to tishtati, which is not in the mantra. In the mantra is only tishtati. Negrodhas tishtati. Bhashikara says, uttishtati iti va uchhabdo adhyaharyo. It has grown up. It has sprouted out of it. Uttishtati. Of that sad small seed. It has sprung up, you can say, uttishtati. Or by adding a prefix ut before the word tishtati, you can take the meaning that it has sprung up from that subtle seed. Ataha shraddhatsva. Therefore, have faith. Somya. Oh, good looking one. Now he puts into the example, is being put into the dictum. He says, Satah eva nimna. Satah means that absolute existence which is totally subtle. From that only sthulam namarupadimat karyam jagad utpannam iti. That from that absolute existence which is subtle, this gross sthulam jagat, this gross universe, possessed of what? Namarupadimat, possessed of names and forms, utpannam bhavati, is born, is created. Now the question arises here, why is telling Shraddhatsva? Because the reason is, the seed which has been broken twice or thrice or whatever it is, until it became totally finite, very, very subtle, powder. From that powder, you have not seen the, you did not take the powder, put into the earth and waited until it becomes a tree. So this Kutarga can, this foolishness, how that powder became, the powder was thrown into the air and the tree was from before only, from that tree only brought the fruit. How can that seed which he has broken can become the cause of the tree? This Kutarga can be brought up. For that he said, Shraddhatsva. Just as you are seeing this big tree gives such a small fruit, and that fruits itself become a seed, and that seed is put into the ground, that again becomes say another tree. So the way it has been explained here, shown here, and at last was said, of this subtle powder only, this big tree standing, he says. That's where the doubt comes up. Therefore he says Shraddhatsva. You have to understand here properly. Only a Shuddhantakarana person can have Shraddha and realize this, not otherwise. There is yadyapi nyaya agama abhyam nirdharito varta tathaiva ityavagamyate. Although the meaning arrived at here, nirdharito vartaha, through logic and scriptures, is understood to be as it is. Tathaiva iti avagamyate, through logic, nyaya and agama, the scriptures. Nyaya agama abhyam. Yadyapi, you have to conjugate in this way, actually, this line, nirdharitu artaha, the meaning that you have finalized at the end, That meaning, Tathaiva is as it stated now, can be known or understood through Nyaya and Agama also. Tathapi, still, Atyanta Sukshmeshwarteshu, बाह्य विषयासक्त मनसा स्वभाव प्रवृत्त असत्यां गुरुतरयां श्रद्धायां द्रवगप्तम स्यादित्याह शब्दस्वैति. Because to a mind, by a mind which is how? Bhai Vishayasakta Manasa, which is engrossed in external things, and Swabhava Pravrittasya, and impelled by the natural tendencies, cannot grasp the very, very subtle objects. Atyanta Sukshmeshwarteshu, Asatyam Gurutarayam Shraddhayam, in the absence of intensive faith, it is very, very, very difficult. Dravagamattam syat. It is very, very difficult to comprehend about those subtle matters. For that reason, Ityaha, the Shruti, in the form of the father says, Shraddhasva, have faith in what is being said. Shraddhayam to Satyam. But when faith is present in the mind, then what happens? Manas samadhanam bhutsidhyarthe bhavet. The mind becomes totally concentrated on a thing which is being understood, which it wants to understand. And by that, tatascha, by that, from that follows what? Tadarthavgati, a proper comprehension of that particular thing. How you are, on what basis you are saying so? He says, see the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad 153. In that it has been stated, Annitra Manabhuvam. Ishukaranya. This is also called as Ishukaranyaya. The arrow. Person who makes the arrows is making the arrow. His mind was totally concentrated in making the arrow itself. The king came and went. He could not even notice the king. He was totally engrossed in that particular arrow. That is, I was absent-minded. Therefore, I could not hear the bang of the bands when the king came. The bands are banging like anything. They're singing and going on. But the fellow could not listen at all. Because that's totally engrossed over there. That shows, if you have faith in your work or in the thing that you want to understand, then only you will be able to have a proper comprehension of that particular thing, not otherwise. Therefore, he says Shraddhatsva. Because it's a question of a very, very subtle matter of the existence of the birth of the universe from the absolute existence. And such a subtle matter cannot be understood by a person who is Bahirmukha. He is always extrovert. Only an introvert person can realize this, not otherwise. Annitra manabhavam ityadi shrutehe. Supportive text from Brihadaranyaka 153. Saeshwani mahitadatmidagam sarvam tat satyam saatma tattamasi shvedageto iti bhuya eva ma bhagavan vidyapetviti tatha swameti hovacha. Saeshwani ma aitadatmidagam sarvam. That which is thus is this. The essence, the subtle essence, anima. Aitadatmidam sarvam. All these possess that as their self. Tat satyam. That is the absolute truth. Saratma. That is the self. Tattamasi. That thou art that. Veshvedagedo iti. Then son says, Bhuya ma bhagavan vidyapetu. Please, Venerable Sir, once again explain this further with another illustration. Tatha swamiti hovacha. Father says, let it be so. Saityayuktartham. यदि तत्सत जगतो मूलम कस्मात् न उपलभ्यते इति तद दृष्टान्तेन वा भगवान भूय विज्ञापितु इति. For the next question, what is there is in his mind, यदि सत जगतो मूलम, if his absolute existent consciousness and bliss, the Brahman, is itself the cause of this world, then why we are not able to experience it? No upalabhyate. Just like the cause of a pot, a lump of mud, we can experience and it is available to us. we handle it. Similarly, if this is great universe causes that as existence, we should be able to experience it also. So why we are not able to experience it? The cause of the world. Ityatad drishtantena. Please, by an example illustration, Ma Bhagavan Ovanvasar, you may explain to me once again. Bhuya Vidyapajati. Pitasavita Hovacha Pita. Father said, let it be so.